Hi, Doug Davidoff here. I'm the founder and CEO at Imagine Business Development. Welcome to the Deals Framework. Now, I don't know about you, but over the last 5 to 10 years, I have hit methodology overload. If you don't know what I'm talking about, just as an example, there's the inbound methodology, the outbound methodology, the conversational methodology, account-based marketing methodology. I could go on and on. What's interesting about all these methodologies is, well, at the end of the day, they all claim to do the same thing, right? They all claim to be revolutionary. And what's really interesting is when you dig deep, there's not always that much difference between them, but we talk like there's a tremendous amount of difference between them. And what's happened is that customer acquisition, customer success, sales and marketing has gotten increasingly complicated for no real reason. And so for the last year plus, the team at Imagine, we've been working really hard to try to make sense of all this. We're huge believers in embracing complexity when it's justified, but not being complicated for the sake of being complicated. And we're really excited to share with you what we found. We've created a framework that truly unifies all the various aspects or methodologies that are out there. You can use each of those methodologies individually, or what I think you'll find with the Deals framework is you'll see how orchestrating the different tactics associated with customer acquisition and success really can come together to increase the velocity of the outcomes from your efforts. Now, when we started working on the Deals framework, we wanted to solve what we saw as the core problems, right? So our goal was not to create a framework. I need to tell you that happened. Our goal was to say, how do we create the simplest map, if you will, possible to address the challenges that seem to be endemic in growth efforts, customer acquisition, customer success, sales, and marketing. Here's the problems that we wanted to solve. First, we are seeing clogged, or what I like to refer to as bulging funnels. Databases are bigger than they've ever been before. Thank you, HubSpot. Thank you, inbound marketing. Regardless of the technology that you're using, inbound marketing changed the mindset of how companies, by and large, viewed lead generation. And today, lead generation is viewed just fundamentally differently than it was 10 years ago. Databases are larger. And I share many times, candidly, lead generation today really isn't the problem. I'm not saying it's not a problem, but it is by no means a top problem if you put your time and attention to it. The thing that we're seeing, though, is despite databases that are multiple times larger, the promise of those databases isn't paying off. We're seeing bulging funnels. We're seeing backups in the funnel. We're not seeing increased velocity as a result of that increased lead generation. We see longer sales cycles, and the data still says fewer reps are hitting quota. Now, I got to tell you, I'm a little skeptical of that second half, at least for the last few years. I think maybe the quotas that are being set maybe aren't all that super realistic. I can tell you, though, that sales reps are being hired at a faster rate than profit growth. That sales reps are being hired, in many cases, at a faster rate than net customer acquisition. Right. And we are seeing longer sales cycles. And more importantly than longer sales cycles, we're seeing more time spent per sales cycle on the part of reps, on the part of businesses. Again, that's kind of the opposite of what the promise of the whole digital sales and marketing revolution was supposed to bring us. And the last piece, the last problem that absolutely shows that there is a fundamental flaw in what's going on with today's dominant customer acquisition and success approaches. And that is, we are seeing higher customer acquisition costs with shorter lifetimes. We are spending more money, at least as a percentage of our gross profit, and we're keeping customers for a shorter period of time. Now, I'm convinced the reason for that is a whole lot of shortcuts that are taking place. Here's the good news. The Deals framework provides an overview, a frame, a map, a process, whatever you want to call it, to methodically, predictably, and sustainably address these three problems. Now, the Deals framework is built on 5 key phases. We start off at the discover phase. We move into the engage phase and activation phase. By the way, that's where the funnels are bulging. The solution to what we call bulging funnel disorder is lead activation, the launch phase, and the success phase. Let's break it down. Let's take a look at it. We'll start off with the discover phase. You see, and this is where the fight about methodology comes in. We do ABM, we do inbound, we do out, whatever the case may be. Right? At the end of the day, whatever you call it, they're all variations of an outreach process so that you, the selling organization, the company looking to grow, the company implementing whatever program you're implementing, your objective is to find accounts that fit. Right? What's your ideal client profile? What's your target market? Who are the people that fit the profile that could buy from you? And then in some way, shape, or form, now certainly we recommend that you do this formally. And I'll tell you, doing this formally, it's probably, well, for years, I got to admit, I fought it a little bit. I don't need this next step. But I'll tell you, this next step is probably the biggest piece in the puzzle to bring order to the chaos that is sales and marketing. But from Fit, we have some version of a target account schema. Now, like I said, sometimes we're very formal about it. We're specific. We're tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, alpha, beta, gamma. I know one company that gives their target account levels. They name them after cities. Whatever system you use, maybe it's just here's the accounts that are in a campaign of some form. That target account schema should fit your ideal client profile. And by the way, if you're not seeing good progress, if you're not seeing more juice for the squeeze, if you will, from your sales and marketing efforts, it's a pretty good bet that your ideal client profile isn't clear enough, isn't tight enough, isn't strong enough, right? So if we look at the discover phase is all about identifying a number of target accounts that fit your profile, that have a reasonable probability to work with you. So they fit a probability set that are enough to meet whatever your objectives are, right? So if you're a company that needs 10 new customers, then the number of target accounts that you need to discover is obviously going to be different than if you need 1,000 new customers. And you'll notice that I'm not talking about the revenue per customer there. What you're probably going to find is that you've got a target account schema that has a certain number of let's just say, very large target accounts to core target accounts versus maybe small target accounts or very large and core, whatever you want to call it. One of the things you'll see in a minute is the approach that the deals framework brings is it's not one size fits all. It's not one size fits you. It's playing the right game in the right way. Alrighty, so you now have identified a core number of target accounts, enough target accounts for you to at least begin to meet your economic objectives. What's your goal? Well, the goal is so easy we forget about it. Yet, if you think about it, you'll be able to increase the velocity and energize your customer acquisition efforts by really simplifying it. The goal, the first step with a target account is to get first action. Get them to do something. Create some level of engagement. What we recommend is you define what first action means for you. Right? Once you get engagement, the next step is to get a little bit more engagement and more specifically to get the engagement from the right people or the right person. So this is the thing that cracks me up about all the different methodologies. Inbound marketing used to make the argument that it's personas, and account-based marketing used to make the argument that it's the ideal client profile. And they argued like ideal client profile and personas were mutually exclusive, when the reality is, if you've got an ideal client profile, but you don't have personas, well, that's a waste of time. And if you've got personas, but you don't have ideal client profile, that's a waste of time. Right? You've got to know who you're going after, both from a segment standpoint and an individual standpoint. Right? The clearer you are about who you want to be engaged with, the greater the likelihood that you're going to be engaged with them. And for most B2B companies where you are looking to attract a small subset of the company's out there in the market, the more important it is that you have that tight definition, right? So target account schemas drive first action. First action drives matching to the persona. Then your next objective is to get a meaningful action. Here again, you've got to define what a meaningful action is. We worked with a company. They defined meaningful action. This was a SaaS company. They defined meaningful action as a key persona who visited their website 3 times in a 30-day period of time, where at least one of those times was their pricing page. And when that occurred, that kind of triggered something. That was meaningful action. Meaningful action might be a conversation with a salesperson. Meaningful action might be time spent on video. As a matter of fact, we have a time spent on video, or time spent with specific engagement, or a pattern of key components that get downloaded over a period of time, right? That meaningful action definition is where you begin to separate your lead cohorts, if you will, your account focused cohorts, if you will, from those that are very much in a learning mode to those that are maybe beginning to get into a doing mode, right? That's really where your engagement qualifications and your sales qualified leads really begin to emerge. As you start getting meaningful action, the next goal is expand engagement, right? You want persona expansion. You need to define who are the buying roles, who's going to be involved in influencing what you do, how are they going to do that? And then the ultimate is being able to directly influence how somebody defines or what they call their problem or opportunity. The most predictive item for what somebody will do in the future is how do they define their problem or opportunity. As that gets defined, that triggers an investigative process. You see, what happens here is a company says, we have a problem or we have an opportunity. We need to do something about it. And what they really mean is we need to decide, are we going to do something about it? See, that's the first step of the process. Are we going to do something? Will we commit the resources to do an investigation, they might not call it that, to determine if we should do something about this? Is this worthy of bigger attention? This is oftentimes called the consideration phase, right? That investigative step then moves to a commit step. Yes, we're going to find out if we should do something about it. Yes, we're going to do something about it. We're going to do something about this problem or opportunity. Not who we're going to do it with, not what are we going to buy. That's the next step. That's the solve. You see, what's happening today is businesses are optimizing for here. We're so maniacally focused for what we're calling this post-intent world. And that means people that are looking to buy, that we forget what's causing them to look to buy, what they look to buy for, what that intent gets formed for, gets originated here. We're optimizing here, and we're abandoning this phase of the market with increasing frequency. And let me tell you, the more you optimize to the end, the more expensive it's going to be. Right? Now, I'm not saying that you should ignore this. The Deals Framework does not say ignore this. The Deals Framework says this is really important. But where you get your leverage is when you optimize for the earlier stage. As you build a bigger asset base of meaningful action with the right types of people, this is where predictability, this is where effortlessness comes. Then solve triggers the customer success process. We've got to deliver on what we promised. We've got to make sure that the customer is happy, and we want to deepen the relationship. We want to deepen it to lengthen lifetime value, but we also want to deepen it to expand, right? And what that does in many ways from the expand side is it basically triggers a whole nother engage process into first action, but it does it at a holistical level. It's like a spiral staircase. Right? Follow this map, and what you'll see, you'll be able to identify where's the vulnerability in your system. Where's the weakness? What do you need to address? Your ideal client profile and personas and buying roles should be identified as part of your strategy. All you have to do is create your target account schema, define what qualifies first action, what qualifies as meaningful action, and you'll be able to drive a repetitive process. Now, this is where the deals framework becomes really powerful. Oh, I should say one thing. This framework is extraordinarily powerful, and the team at Imagine, we are extraordinarily excited by it, in case you can't tell. But you'll also notice there's absolutely positively nothing brand new or earth-shattering about it. We are so excited about the deals framework, candidly, because the deals framework is, well, I mean, it's kind of obvious, right? It's clear. That's where we get ourselves into trouble. I mean, I just have to tell you this. I've been involved in sales and marketing for 35 years. Sales and marketing is not rocket science. I mean, yes, it's complex, right? But the underlying components of it are not all that super duper complicated. Your job is to build the structure and the processes that enable you to follow this path consistently. How do you do that? Well, you understand that it's not a one-size-fits-all approach. The discover phase, that's all the different things that we're doing. Whatever the methodologies might be, whatever and I don't even like to call them methodologies, to be honest with you. They're just different series of tactics that get woven together based upon what you're looking to do. You know, as a matter of fact, the fundamental difference between inbound and, say, ABM is that with inbound, you don't know who your customers are, so you develop content and other things so that they find you, they fit your profile, they fit your target account schema, and oh, by the way, when you find out who they are, they've already done first action. So you kind of have a running start. ABM just flips that on its head and it says, we know who the accounts are. They haven't done anything with us yet, but we know who they are. We need to get first action. And the reality is, for 98% of companies out there, you need to be doing both, as well as demand generation, outbound, and anything else. Now, this is where it gets different, right? Your engage and activate tactics, they need to be broken down. You're going to be playing one of three games. An individualized game, this is, you are individualizing your messaging, your outreach to the specific company, right? Highly, highly, highly personalized. Contextualized, we're getting much broader. So this might be marketing to tens of companies. This is hundreds to the low thousands, and this is the thousands. This is basically same message going out across the board. This is higher ACV, higher fees, higher costs, more complexity, lower ACV, lower price point, less complexity. The question is not which game are you going to play. The question is which games are you going to play, right? You can only play one game per account. But the problem that we see taking place today is that companies are playing one game across the entire account base, when in reality, they should be playing two, if not all three games. Play the right game with the right account. That's what's going to unlock and activate your best leads, your best opportunities. That's what's going to lead to less effort in the sales process that leads to a successful customer success process. And that's what ultimately drives predictable, sustainable, and scalable outcomes. The deals framework, take a look at how you're managing your process. See where you can optimize, see where your constraints are, and know if you want any help, if you want to eliminate the friction to increase the velocity by 15, 25, 35%, the team at Imagine is here to help make that happen.